Welcome back, everybody, to No Story Left Behind, number 12. With me in the studio tonight is super producer Casey.
Sup?
And Casey's here. Steve is currently working in Dallas, Texas, and unable to be here for the foreseeable future. However, Brian from episode 2 has been kind enough to make his fabled return.
Hello.
No sandwiches, though. I'm kind of disappointed.
None.
And no beer.
Man, hey, that's my joke.
And thanks Brian for coming and sitting in with us tonight, and welcome back to the studio, Josh, or rather the new studio.
New studio, yeah, I'm grooving on the new digs, man. These are nice.
That's
Yeah, it's all Gordon's fault. Like, yeah.
I broke the last studio.
He sat on it. In it, all of it.
Yeah.
And with Josh, I brought his family down because this episode's going to be a little bit different from previous recordings. After episodes 2 and 3, Corey and Josh both brought up the idea of having the family members of servicemen and women coming on and talk about what experiences were like back here or back home while their spouse was overseas. So thank you, Jennifer, Hannah, and Sarah, for sitting down with us. If you guys just want to go around and please introduce yourselves.
Missing the youngest child, Rebecca is.
Yes.
My
sorry,
youngest couldn't make it.
so she
My
was
youngest couldn't make it. She
just
was
got done
off.
working, and
Correct.
So just go around and introduce yourself. Josh, if you want to introduce yourself again for the new listeners.
Okay. Josh Eads. I live in Hudson, Wisconsin. Retired first sergeant out of the United States Army and Army National Guard. 20 years. I retired right at 20 years and 1 month. By design. And yeah. So, and then I have my daughters and my wife here. Sarah, go ahead.
All right, I'm Sarah Eads. I'm the middle child. Super
There's
awesome.
no bitterness in that.
No, for not middle child for sure.
What's your name again?
Yeah, I guess that's not much to it.
So I'm Jen, Josh's wife. We've been married for 22 years. We've been together for 25. And I guess that's my story. There's not much more to me.
Pretty simple.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm the eldest, and yeah, that's what I got.
Jen, how did you and Josh end up meeting?
Well,
What was younger Josh like?
okay, so this story could be long, but we don't need it to be.
Oh, go for it. Casey doesn't have to work till, 9 tomorrow?
It's not that long. It's not that fantastic. But so I was 20 years old. I was living in St. Paul. I had a good friend of mine who lived in uptown Minneapolis, and he had been telling me for weeks about this gorgeous guy. He was not straight, and he was telling me about this gorgeous guy that moved in next door, and I was always like, well, Jimmy, is he gay? And Jimmy's like, yeah, but that doesn't matter. He's not gay, but I'll get him. And, that's just how Jimmy was. He was like, it didn't matter if you're gay or straight. He was, And so I happened to be meeting a girlfriend of mine, and we were going to go clubbing downtown. It was, like 18 and up night because I wasn't 21 yet. And so we were going to meet at Jimmy's place because it was kind of central, and then we were just going to go downtown and do our thing. And so I get to Jimmy's house, and he has this this apartment building was so gross. But
It was janky as fuck.
it was pretty bad. But so Jimmy had to come down and let us in. It didn't even have like a door buzzer kind of thing. And he came down to the door and let me in, and we were walking back to his apartment in this seedy apartment building. It was like low lit hallway. It was kind of creepy. And Jimmy elbows me, "That's him. That's him." I'm like, okay, cool, that's him. And so there's this guy walking towards me with like shaved head, bad boy looking guy, and introduced in the hallway, and we just started talking, and I learned he was new to Minnesota. He had just moved there a couple months ago from Colorado, and we got to talking, and I'm like, well, if you want to come hang out with us downtown tonight, that'd be cool. And he's like, well, I'm going to dinner, but I'll be back in a little bit. Will you wait? And I'm like, sure, why not? My friend's not here yet, whatever. So he came out with me and my friend that night, and we went dancing at the gay bars.
Yeah, we went gay bar hopping. It was fun.
if you were in downtown Minneapolis and you were at the gay 90s,
No,
Well, we
there
went
was,
to
I
the
don't remember.
saloon.
I
It was
don't-
called the Saloon.
yeah, I don't-
Oh, the saloon. Okay, well, that was the second one.
I lived
Yeah.
when I had first moved up from Colorado. I moved up here because I had a previous relationship with somebody else, and there was another child involved. And so I wanted to move up here to be a dad. And so my dad, who lived in Bloomington, in a really nice, fancy house, is like, "Oh yeah, we'll get you this place." So he gets me this freaking janky ass. And I was taking my switchblades and I was sticking mice with it. You know? Yeah, I would throw them at the mice and stuff, and it was a great place.
Do you remember?
like
Do you
right
remember the
next to-
cross streets? I lived in Uptown for a long time.
It was Hennepin and
It was right next to this Valentine's restaurant down there. White restaurant, it had like Valentino's.
Was
or
it closer to
something.
the 94?
Yeah, it was very close to
Yeah,
94.
yeah. So that you lived in the. You're talking about the Wedge.
Yeah, the Wedge.
You lived in the Wedge
Yeah.
for years. Yeah. Yeah, janky.
Yeah, it was janky.
Still janky.
But it was just right across the highway. It was Loring Park, right down
Yep.
the road down
Yeah.
there. You know, so I didn't know. Like I had moved up here.
You didn't know that was the gay neighborhood.
I did
yeah.
not know that. So like I was telling people at
Still
work,
is.
because I worked over in Crystal at this cabinet shop. And they were like, well, where do you live? I was like, oh, Uptown, right by Loring Park. And they're like, oh, really? Really? I didn't know at that time, But anyways, so
so we went out that night, and the night was done, and Josh and I sat up all night talking. And next thing we know, it's like, oh, the sun's coming up, and we both have to go to work. And we really, other than military deployments and, military training times, his weekends, his whatever, we've been together ever since.
we moved in about 6 months after that. Moved in with each
Or
other. Got an
less.
apartment up in Larpenter.
That
35.
didn't have rodents that ran along the
Yeah,
baseboards.
rodents. It had different problems. But
Jenny insisted.
You're not wrong.
A funny story about that is I was going out to dinner with my folks. They were coming to pick me up, so they picked me up, and I got in the back of the car, and they're going hey, how's it going? I said, well, I just met the girl I'm going to marry. They're like, what? And I was like, yeah, I think I just met the girl I'm going to marry. Why I said hi to her, I don't know, because I didn't have enough courage to do that back then, but for some reason, something said, say hi to the girl, and I did, and I was, oh gosh.
So maybe he knew it right away. I took a
did,
little
yeah.
convincing,
It was a shame.
and
I grew hair out.
Yeah, I'm gonna marry a switchblade guy, I guess.
Well, were you already enlisted in the Army at that point?
No, I had tried getting into the Marine Corps and stuff, and I was still trying to get into the Marine Corps. And, and then just life got in the way. That went away for a little bit. And Hannah came along, basically. So, Hannah, there was 2 events that really changed everything in the dynamics of our relationship. One was Hannah. And we found out Jenny was pregnant because she had a seizure.
a big one.
So, a big one. And we had gone
The
to
excitement with
Yeah.
what you said that way.
It was a really big one.
Was it in a movie theater?
It was in a movie
Twister.
theater, so
We sing Twister.
Right as the cow goes by. Yeah, I had a seizure during that movie too.
it was close. It was right as the tornado goes through the movie theater in the drive-through.
Oh,
so
that's also a good scene.
right as I think it was the flashing, because there was a series of flashing lights in there, and I looked over, and she had never had a seizure or anything like that before.
No, never.
I look over, and she's doing seizure face, and I'm like, Jen, and I jump up in the middle of this theater, and I'm like, look, I need a fucking ambulance right now. And this dude just like looks at me, he's like, okay, and he takes off. And I'm out of the movie theater, and and it was really bad, because like the cops showed up, and they were like, there's only 2 reasons why women have seizures, and she doesn't have epilepsy, so you've been roughing her up a little bit there, guy. Like,
They went that direction.
they went
Great.
direction. They're doing it
That's-
hardcore,
They did.
And it's like, yeah, fuck you, cop. But she ended up in the hospital.
Where did they take me?
They took you to where you worked.
Really?
Yeah, they took you where you worked down at the
At
hospital
the,
at that
at
point.
the
in
U
time.
of M? They took me to the U of M?
Yeah, you were down at the U of M.
I don't remember any of this. I was having a seizure.
She was using 100% of her brain though, so yeah.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't let me back in there because I technically wasn't related. But finally, this nurse lady is like, "Yeah, you better let him come back because he's about ready to start killing."
I was
people."
awake at this point, not
Yeah.
like, I was pretty foggy, pretty out of it, and the nurse came back and said, "So there's a guy here, he said he's with you, and he's pretty agitated. Is it okay if he comes back here?" And I'm like, "Yes, it's fine. Can I sleep now?" You know, I was just exhausted.
So, as a matter of precaution, they gave her a pregnancy test.
Because they wanted to do a CT scan.
So, this short little Asian doctor is very stereotypical. What happened next? He comes in and he looks at both of us and he goes, no good. I know, this may be good news, bad news, but are you pregnant? Like that, and I was like, whoa, all right, yeah, you know.
And I went-
Jenny went, oh my god, you know.
And I went, surprise!
And after that, we started planning for Hannah. So.
And at that
Yeah.
point, we moved back to
We
Hudson.
moved back to Hudson. That's when I decided I was going to go, because we were.
That's when you started thinking about it.
Yeah, well, I had started. That's when the plan started really kind of, because we had
To
talked
join
about it
the
and talked about it,
military.
and we ended up living in an apartment in Somerset, and I had gone up to the recruiter up in New Richmond, and I said, yeah, let's just do it.
Mind you, he didn't talk to me that he was gonna do it.
Yeah.
He just, you know, we talked about what ifs and
So like, the question was,
maybes.
what was younger Josh like? You know?
Yeah,
Once it's contractually binding, you can't do anything about it.
right.
Can you tell me a little bit like why that was an option for you at the time?
Well, I had to.
Okay.
Military service is a big deal in my family.
Mm-hmm.
Both of my grandfathers served World War II. My uncle served in Vietnam. On my dad's side, they can trace military service going all the way back to the Revolutionary War. So it was a big deal. I had to do it at some point. You know, it was just a matter of time. I probably could have gone about it a better way doing it, you know. But hindsight is 20/20, you know. But I don't regret. Now looking back at it, I don't regret it. It was tough, and we went through some pretty rough times when we first started out. You know, Jenny will talk to that. You know, because that's not my tale to tell. But we went through some tough stuff, especially when we first left for basic training. So, you know, we weren't married at that time, and
Well, when you signed up, we weren't married. When you
when I signed
enlisted.
up, we weren't married, and so one of the first things that we decided that we needed to do was get married. You know, and it wasn't a shotgun wedding, but it was kind of
Sure felt
close
that
to
way.
it. It sure felt that way. You know.
Well, so it was a switchblade wedding because you.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, goddamn rat. You know? I was doing what I thought was the best for my budding new family, you know, and it was important to me that I set ourselves up for success in the future, you know, because I look back. She's shown me some of the tax returns from back in that time, because you know she's an accountant, so she keeps stuff like that, you know. But I don't know how we did it. I literally do not know how we survived. I don't know how we made ends meet. I don't.
Well,
know.
I know how we did. We had a really strong support system,
We did.
right? We had really great family, parents, grandparents.
Jenny's family, yeah.
That's how we survived it.
Yeah.
Is we had a great support system.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so younger Josh was kind of a dumbass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were well, you were
18 through early 20s, you do nothing but make the best choices. As I can attest to.
Oh God.
Yeah, it was
That's how I know about honey bun.
Now, last time we brought in Dero, 2020 went to hell, so no more of that.
Oh, my bad.
Shitbot.
It can only help now. I'm just saying.
Hey, we gotta talk about that off air. I don't particularly remember that, but
dinosaurs. Other than dinosaurs, zombies, and freaking an asteroid hit, and I think we only can go up from now on. You know.
I would pick dinosaurs.
We almost had Sharknado.
Sharknado almost. Yeah.
What do we say if the ninth gate of hell opened up in downtown Hudson on 2nd Street? We'd be like, well,
Normally all the veteran community that lives there would be like, we got this. Yeah, there you are, fellas. We got work to do.
we got all the guns and ammo here in West Indian Head.
Jen, you mentioned that he didn't talk to you about before I went and talked to the recruiter. So, what was your reaction? I imagine Josh is walking through like, hey, surprise.
Yeah, no, here's what he did. So,
Classy as fuck.
his mom didn't live far from us, and so we have, little Hannah. She's 14 months, 15 months old.
Just
How
a
old
wee
were you?
little bit.
You were just a cute little.
Like it was
so-
yesterday.
So he made arrangements with his mom to take Hannah for a little while. He made this fantastic dinner for us, and what did you make? It wasn't spaghetti. Was it
Yeah.
baked ziti?
I think it was Big Ziti, yeah.
Yeah. So you made this whole big spread, and we sat down to have dinner. And it was,
something's wrong.
Yeah.
Or at least after that, you did. 'Cause,
Yeah. And so we're sitting there having this dinner, and he's like, so I did a thing. Okay. He's like, I signed up, for National Guard, whatever. I'm like, you did what? Why? Why'd you do this? And so we just talked about it, and he's like, I just, he told me all the reasons why he did, and I'm like, well, I guess what's done is done. And he's like, but I don't leave until September. So this was in April, right? This was in April that you signed up?
Correct, yes.
He's like, I don't leave until
April of
September.
1998.
And we talked about, in the military, they don't really, if they wanted you to have a wife, they'd issue you one. So we thought we'd probably better get married before they could pull that card.
Yeah. They don't
And-
train you for this stuff, man.
Yeah. So it really, most people say, if, you're going to get married, you got to have a year to plan the wedding. Well, we had months.
It was a baptism by fire is what it was.
Yeah. And so we just,
It was
I never got the on the knee proposal, which is fine. I'm not bitter about it. I don't care. Like, that's legit. That's real. I don't care. But and I should say I never got it. I got it a couple years later.
Josh looked like he's about 30 seconds from an Uber ride home earlier.
But it was just kind of well, I guess we better get married then, huh? Because, we had Hannah, but we just never felt like we had to have a piece of paper to legitimize our relationship or something. But now it's like, well, I guess we better. So we got married in September, and
Shipped out
a couple
shortly
weeks
after
later,
that.
he
Shipped out.
left.
And did you have any concerns about him going into the military or leaving for basic? Because at 98, it was still pretty much peacetime. for the most part.
Yeah, I wasn't really worried about that so much. And, it's interesting because our lease was up on our apartment or townhouse or whatever that we had. And my grandma, who lived in Hudson, was ill. She lived alone. And I was like, well, since Josh is leaving, and my grandma had been such a big part of my life when I was a kid, I should help her. She helped me when I was a kid, helped my mom, my mom was a single mom, so whatever. Just felt like, okay, I'm going to move in with Grandma. Grandma was appreciative of the help. She couldn't drive so much anymore. She couldn't do grocery shopping, and she had a lung condition, so they said you can't vacuum, you can't do any of that type of, housework.
Sorry.
So I
It was some
wanted,
kind of fibrosis in the lungs. It was like cystic fibrosis.
no, it was idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis.
That's it.
And so Grandma couldn't do a lot of these things. I'm like, why not? It's just me and Hannah. I'll move in with Grandma. We'll help her out. Well, the plan had been that we were just going to live there until Josh came back from basic training and whatever, and then we just stayed. We never left.
We ended up buying the house.
After Grandma
After
passed,
Grandma
we
passed,
bought the house.
How long was it before you were able to communicate with Jenny after
So-
you shipped out? And there's a two-parter, and then when was the first time you were? How many months before you were able to come back on leave?
I did one site unit training, so I went down for basic training and AIT all at the same shebang. So I was down there. I got to come home for a week. It was a week. I got to come home for a week for Christmas, and then I had to
you
go
were,
back.
oh, you looked like
Yeah, I looked like a cancer patient.
you were so,
AIT is advanced infantry training, so they was
Advanced, advanced individual training.
Individual? Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
advanced individual training. And so I had to go back for that, and that was only 6 weeks when I did that, and then I got to come home after that. So, you know, I got to come home early March.
Okay, but was there like that initial first gap of communication? How
That was, well, it was about 4 weeks before I could, it was about a month before I called home.
called?
Yeah,
Was
I
there
mean-
writing?
We do a lot of
Yeah,
writing.
and you know, I gotta.
It's weird, you look at those freaking letters, like, from when we were writing back and forth, man, it was
We
like,
were stupid.
it was,
Well, what do you mean? Like, what is
We were just so young.
We were just
we
very
were just so young,
Very young.
and
money was very prevalent.
So-
in those conversations
so
and those letters?
his pay that he was supposed to get didn't come, and I was when Hannah was first born, I had worked, and then we were just like, you know what, this is so stupid for us to both work, and we're paying daycare, and we were so poor. You know, I hadn't gone to college yet, so I wasn't making a ton of money.
I hadn't done, yeah.
And so it's like, you know what, I'm just going to stay home, you know, raise our child, whatever. So I'm not working. He's gone. Thank God we were living with Grandma because she helped out a lot because I had no money to buy diapers. I had no money to buy food, and his pay wasn't coming. And being brand new to the military, I have no idea
We
who to
didn't
even
know.
call.
So she was calling up to the actual armory and calling the full timers up at the armory in New Richmond, like, you know, you motherfuckers, where is this shit?
Did you use that expletive?
You know,
Jenny?
No, I don't. That was a long time ago. For sure. Well, to start with, the only phone number that I had was the recruiter, and the recruiter's like,
Oh, he's not.
yeah, he's like, well, I don't know, and I'm like, well, you promised we'd have money.
yeah.
You're not living up to your promises, and whatever. Eventually, the full timers got me in touch with the family readiness group, who was able to get money together.
Now, you gotta remember, this is before 9/11. This is before the wars kicked off. You know, so the family resource groups, you know, the
They didn't have
FRGs,
money.
they were just, well, they sucked. They were terrible. It was just one guy who volunteered for it and that did absolutely nothing. So they didn't really know how to handle that problem, you know, because my pay did get screwed up. It was going to the wrong account, or I forget exactly what was going on. But she wasn't getting it. She didn't have access to it. So it really created a kind of a stressful situation, you know, because I had to go to the drill sergeant and was like, look, I need this fixed. You know, you're like, what do you want me to do about it? You're a drill sergeant. Fucking fix it. You know, you know, you're my only contact with the outside world right now. You know, so this needs to get fixed. You know, so I think they ran some stuff up their chain and.
Right. I mean,
stuff
some
done.
people brought
Eventually,
me diapers and
yeah.
they brought me groceries and whatever. But you know what? I'm a little sad about and almost a little ashamed. But I mean, I was so young that I just didn't know any better. But Josh kept all the letters that I wrote to him and everything. And man, you think I would have been a nice, supportive wife? Come on, honey, I know this is tough. You've got this. But no, I was just like doom and gloom and
Where's
negative.
my motherfucking money?
All right, so yeah, Hannah and Sarah, your mom does use language like that. Is that?
On occasion.
She doesn't seem like the type of lady to do that, though.
You have to get her really, really mad. Really, really mad.
I don't know
Like,
about
don't do
really,
the
really,
dishes
but-
and not clean your room for like 5 months.
Would you just clean your fucking room?
Who took the fucking scissors, God damn it.
Yeah, there's that
And
one too.
I'm clutching my pearls.
When,
Me too.
and when my dad was gone, like she was scary and all, but it was kind of like, all right, we're just gonna kind of be sneaky. But then when he came back, it was like, all right, everybody, you know,
Get it
get in
together.
line. We can't do anything
Where's
wrong.
my motherfucking money?
Josh, did you come home and spray paint the little yellow footprints out?
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, I didn't do any. I made him do push-ups a couple times. Right?
Oh yeah.
On the front lawn.
But you guys ran across the road without looking both ways, so discipline must be enforced.
On the front lawn.
It was a one-way street.
Old man arm booster was coming out going, "You girls listen to your dad. He knows what he's talking about." Yeah. No, it was a different time. It was a different time. It was a different age. We had different mentalities and everything, you know. And you know, once I came home, everything started really everything got a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went on a couple of cruises and had a couple of kids.
A cruise.
Oh my.
Yep.
You guys have to bring it up every time.
So
Wait, and Josh, National Guard, is that the, what, 1 week in a month and then 2
correct.
weeks a year?
At that point in time, yeah, it was when it changed. The thing that changed everything, as you guys probably already know, this was 9/11. 9/11 changed almost everything in the fabric of this country. For our family, it was a pivotal point. When 9/11 happened, we can tell you exactly what we were doing that day. I can tell you, you know, what the weather was like. Everything. I remember
It was nice out.
it was nice, yeah. It was beautiful out, you know. And I had stayed home from work because she was pregnant with our Rebecca, our little,
With our youngest.
with our youngest. And she was miserable because she was 9 months pregnant. The due date was coming up, and her back was hurting, her feet were hurting. And so I called into work and said, yeah, I'm not coming in today because I need to take care of my pregnant wife. You know, so I took a vacation day, blah, blah, blah. And then I turned on the TV and you guys know the rest of the story. I won't revisit that, but it changed it. It changed the dynamics of, because we knew at some point I would be going. Especially after, you know, they did the initial push into Afghanistan to go after the Taliban and Al Qaeda, you know, but then the ramp up, you know, the WMDs, the weapons of mass destruction conversation started up in Iraq. And once you could really tell that it was going to happen, you know, and agree with it or not is kind of redundant question now. But we knew at some point I was going to be going, and so we started prepping for it. And it was a little challenging. That was a challenging time. You know, and
Uncertainty was really
the uncertainty
scary,
was
not just
going-
with what's happening in our country, but for our little family
it
unit.
wasn't a
too.
matter of if, it was a matter of when for us.
Right.
you
And so
know.
the kids ages were.
Let's
So
see.
you would have been 4?
No, she was 6. She was in first grade. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I can't tell these things.
And she was,
I play with numbers every day. Math is
because
hard.
I had taken her to school the morning of, and then I had to go get her because they shut down the schools
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
on that day.
And I just turned.
And she was in
I
first grade.
And
I just
You were
turned 1.
4, yeah. You were
no,
4.
her and Becca are
Yeah, you were
15
one.
months
Yeah, you were
apart, so
one.
you were little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I changed your diaper and then had to take you back and change it again because it was, you know, important.
How embarrassing.
So how did you two kind of take me through the prep that you had to go through? Because you know, and I know we talked about on the first show. I mean, you kind of said that, you know, you were ready at that point. That you
At that
wanted.
point, yeah, at that point you want to go. You know, what I mean, before you go over on a deployment, I mean, I wanted to go over there and freaking eat some guts. You know, I was ready to kill somebody,
Yeah.
and you know, but they train you that way. You know, that's what I was infantry. You know, I wanted to get into the fight. You know, they had hurt us. They had hurt our country. And I was ready to go over there and do what I was trained to do. And I did, you know, and I did it very well. And we prepped, mostly it was prep for Jen, and it was prep for, Sarah was still, not until the second deployment. I mean, you remember the first deployment in some respects, but the second
Yeah,
deployment,
in there.
the second deployment really is,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the second deployment is really kind of
Right.
the one that you remember the most. And I
Yeah.
think it's the one that Hannah remembers the most too, so.
So
But do you remember any of the prep that we did?
Not a lot of it. Not a
So-
lot.
a lot of the prep that we did, so 9/11 happened, and Josh didn't leave on his first deployment until 2004. So we had a little span of time.
Yeah, but I was training up for it in 2000. I was going to
Yeah,
schools.
you were,
stuff.
and you were doing a lot of schools. You
Yeah.
were gone a lot, doing a lot of different military schools and training and
Yeah.
whatever. But even that's not, you know, when you're gone at a school, it's not so bad because I know you're still safe. You're in the United States. You're just away, and we were able to talk frequently-ish.
Yeah.
just phone calls and whatever, but
It's amazing how technology changed over the years too.
Yeah.
I mean, we went from these horrific cell phones to, you know, on the first deployment we had Messenger, you know, and then on the
we got
third-
to be really fast typers.
and then and then on the second deployment, well, even up, you know, on the second deployment we had Skype, you know,
Yeah.
which Skype was not a good thing. Skype was not a good thing.
Yeah, but as far as, you know, prepping to get ready for it, it was more like just trying to get our mentality there, talking to the girls about, you know, Dad explaining, you know, Dad's a soldier, he's in the Army, he does that to help keep us safe.
From
I
the
mean,
bad guys. It was always the
safe-
bad guys.
Yep, safe from the bad
It was
guys.
the bad guys.
That's a lot of the prep that we did, and then of course, you know, the stuff that you don't like to think about, but, you know, getting your finances in order, getting your wills
A
drawn
will.
up.
Drawing a will when you're 20-something years old, drawing a will and deciding what everything is sobering.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a
it's-
tough thing to do.
It's really sobering because it forces you to think about, you know, there is a chance. There is a chance. Especially what we were seeing coming out of the first two waves that went over, you know. We knew the tactics and the stuff that we were going to be facing and stuff, and so I mean, it's, you saw what was going to happen, and it did.
Before things got real bad, I remember, you know, talking to people and listening to people in the first Gulf War. CNN's reporting, you know, 30 to 40,000 casualties in the
Yeah.
first X amount of days or weeks, whatever it was. Was there that same kind of mentality going into this one? Because, you know, hindsight's always 20/20, of course, and
There was
you
the
always fight.
fear.
You always fight you fight the war that you fought last. You know, so they went into it thinking it was going to be similar to the Gulf War. You know, in some respects they were right. In other respects, they did not estimate the capacity for the enemy being able to engineer as well as they did. I mean, they came up with the IEDs, and they came up, you know, while we were there, they came up with the EFPs and stuff like that. It took some smart people to figure this stuff out. You know, Haji's not dumb.
well, what
Yeah.
was it, 2003, 4, when Bremer axed all their military-age males from being in public service, essentially?
Yeah,
I noticed, I think, if I got my timeline right, that's when the IEDs really started to ramp.
correct.
Yeah.
You know, and it was, you know, Iran was sending guys over when we were over there, because we were right on the Sunni Triangle and stuff, and on the eastern side of our AO bordered Iran, you know, which was kind of fun to roll out there on the freaking border, because they always freaked out on me. The Americans are coming! Oh, you know, they all run into the machine gun and stuff. It was like, dude, if we're coming over, man, you're not.
Yeah, you're gonna.
It's like, it's coming from
zapped
there. You know, yeah, it's
beforehand from
you
above
don't
it.
look to a different direction, buddy, because it's not gonna be. I'm gonna be mopping you up, you know. But yeah, they were sending, and the Republican Guard was sending freaking guys over and setting up EFPs and stuff like that. You know, that curved metal plate, and they pack it full, and then they basically, when they detonate it, the force pushes that out, and it basically shoots a jet of molten metal out, you know, from the force of the explosion. It's brilliant engineering, you know. It's fabulous engineering. Like I said, they're not dumb, you know. Yeah, they were coming up with ways, unique and colorful ways to kill Americans, you know. And she knew this. She knew all of
Yeah,
this.
Jen, what's going through your head? I mean, you have a husband, and you know, every vet I've talked to from this time, the general consensus is, I wanted to go over there. I wanted to be in the fight. Were you the voice of reason? Yeah.
Well, I know better than to try to dampen his spirits when he's really excited about something. I understood his passion. I understood, and you know, a lot of the guys that he was going over there with, I knew them. My girls call them their
Still-
army uncles.
Still,
And still do. You
to
know,
this
I
day, we
mean,
still talk.
I understood that he wanted to go over there for a lot of reasons, and probably the biggest reason was to protect his brother's back. And I supported that, you know, because I didn't want to see any of these guys get hurt, and I knew that they were all going to look out for each other as best as they could. So, I mean, it's not like I ever said, baby, I don't want you to go. I want you to find a way out of it. Break your leg. I mean, I never, ever did any of that. Did I want him to go? Of course not. But did I understand and support him? For sure.
It was weird because the first deployment, they say hindsight's 20/20, and you can look back on stuff and stuff like that. The first deployment compared to the second deployment was so much easier. It was, I don't want to say fun, because fun's not the right or correct word to use, but it was definitely easier to deal with, but it was strange too at the same time. The second deployment was tough. It was tough to go away again.
So it's interesting that Josh and I kind of have different perspectives on which of his 2 Iraq deployments was harder, because for me, his first deployment was the hardest, because I had young children at home who didn't necessarily understand, how do you explain these very adult concepts to small children? And I didn't work. I was raising our kids, and it was very isolating. I felt very alone, and a lot of times I felt helpless, and it was really hard for me, that first deployment. The second deployment was not as hard for me. It was more annoying.
Before we get too deep into the second deployment, can you give us an idea of, or rather, can you just tell us what was the length of time of the first deployment? And it was from, you said 2004?
Correct. It was from 2004 to 2005. I left in the summer of 2004, but I didn't go boots on the ground until fall of 2004. So we went to Fort McCoy for about a month, and then we went to our MOB site, which was Camp Shelby, Mississippi, which was very difficult coming from a Wisconsin environment in late spring to a tropical environment down in Camp Shelby. I don't know if you boys have been down south or not, but it eats you alive down there. If you're not used to it and you don't know what to expect, that Mississippi summer is, that humidity literally eats you, it eats you, it consumes you, unless you know how to deal with it or you get acclimated to it. And even once I think that's why the folk down there are so angry, because they live in that crap down there, But, so we did 6 months mobilization, and then we had to go to get validated. We went and did our desert training out at Fort Irwin, NTC, California, and then from there we were there for about a month and got validated, month and a half maybe, and then boom, we went boots on the ground. We hit about a week before Thanksgiving in November into Kuwait, and we rolled into Kuwait, and then about 2 weeks after that I rolled across the border. I ground convoyed up. I didn't fly up to my base. I ground convoyed up across the border where everything happened. It was a weird, surreal thing. I wish I had taken pictures of it, because I can't really I can't convey to you or capture the essence of what it was. You're going by signs. You are about to enter a live war zone. Unless you've been there, you can't. It's hard to describe. And then shortly after that, I got put on Task Force Danger, and I was running vehicles all over. And my second day in Iraq, I got IED'd, and it was pretty much about every 2 months after that I would be involved in an IED again. About 3 weeks after that, I got shot at for the very first time. That was fun, going across the bridge into Tikrit, and and it was crazy, man. It was definitely different, different experience. But I was there. We came home. Getting back to the original question, sorry I got off in the weeds there. We came home in October of 2005. So we did a month because it was right before Halloween. Because I wanted to be home by Halloween.
So even after you got back, like you still had work to do. You were still sort of having to be stateside, not at home, in a sense.
Yeah, they put us into the barracks, and basically they said don't go anywhere, but here's a bunch of alcohol. You know.
Now, why would they do that?
It was, again, it's strangely cathartic. You know,
Yeah, man. Is it there's like a defragmentation period?
it was, we need to let off some steam, man. Like I'm still letting it off to this day. Yeah, we had to do something. You know, they wouldn't let us go out into the towns or anything like that. We were basically quarantined, you know. But they basically threw us a bunch of alcohol and said, you know, you guys just hang out here, relax. The families could come on. You know, Jenny drove onto in the stretch prowler.
And also known as a minivan.
We had a Pontiac freaking purple minivan. I called it the stretch prowler. You know. Yeah, it was a dope as fuck van, man.
I remember that van.
Yeah.
I remember it.
So she came down, spent some time down there with us, or with me, not with us. But,
Got lost at.
Got
I
lost
always
at
get
Fort
lost. I'm
McCoy.
directionally challenged, so I got lost at Fort McCoy, and I'm calling him up, crying. I can't see anything. It's dark. I don't know where I am. He's like, just stay where you are. I'll come find you.
So, yeah, it was crazy. It was that time period, and then they didn't do a very good job of getting us back into society. You know, because you come out and if it wasn't for her, I'd probably be in prison, to be honest with you. You know, building my shank freaking cottage.
Your Pretzi show.
My Pretzi shop. Yeah.
Pretzi.
But you know, she.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I guess I've never really asked her her perspective on that, so I'm kind of curious as
Oh.
what it was like when I first
just-
came back. But you know,
Oh, are we having therapy?
I just want
session
to.
here?
Yeah, yes.
I
That's what the
was
whiskey's for.
I was aggressive as fuck. I'll just say that.
Well, I just want to roll things back to you, Jenny.
Mhm.
You said that the first deployment was tough, the second one was annoying. That first one, you said you're trying to take care of your kids and get them ready. I mean, what are you doing for yourself at that point? I can't imagine there's
Good
a
question.
there's a manual out there that you can read of how to prepare for your husband to leave.
Right, yeah. So there wasn't a whole lot that I did or could do. I mean,
They were learning it as they went.
Yeah,
Like the FRG.
so the family readiness group kind of became a big deal once our soldiers were getting deployed. And so I got involved in that. We discovered that the FRG for Bravo Company, which is the unit he was with, sucked. It was terrible. And so we kind of formed our own. And that was important. That's kind of where I got my support. Other young moms. And then there were a lot of mothers of soldiers that were in this group too. And that was really great because it was almost like us young moms kind of got an army mom. And they were important in helping us keep our sanity and keep grounded. And we helped each other out. We watched each other's kids so that you could, take a shower. So that you could, maybe just go to the grocery store without having to haul along all the kids and deal with, our youngest was exceptionally good at temper tantrums in the middle of the store. And
Still is.
What? Yeah. What do you mean was accepted?
Since she's not here, we can do this.
Big sister chiming in. Yeah.
She's not here to defend herself.
Note to everybody, Becca's does not allowed to watch this now.
We'll just send a link over.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that girl had a scream that could break glass. I mean, yeah.
Throwing herself onto the floor and fists on
Yeah,
each side.
Yeah, she was a master.
Tantrums.
Me and Hannah just in the corner going like,
I have no idea where she got it from either.
Yeah.
You know,
So, that's really where the support came from. And,
they grew as they went along too. They got really good at it.
Right. We learned.
Were there other wives and moms in there, aside from the mothers of soldiers? Were there other wives that, oh, my husband's been on deployment before, this is kind of, no, or you're all in the same boat together?
It was all of us Bravo company women, whether it was moms. I can't remember if there were like sisters of soldiers. I don't
No,
think
there
so.
wasn't. It was all
I think it was all wives and moms.
And you figured out who was freaking really good at what they were doing, and you figured out who was a piece of shit too.
Yeah.
And there was politics a lot too.
Yeah, and women, they're bitchy and catty, and so and that was kind of the problem with the actual, like, the Bravo company
Some women like
sanctioned.
to wear their husband's rank as well.
Yeah, well, that happened
We
more
don't
during the
need- yeah,
second
sure, yeah.
deployment, but
What do
yeah.
you mean?
Well,
Some
go ahead.
women like to. My husband is the captain, so you have to do what I say.
Oh, okay.
And other women are
Got
like,
it.
my husband is an E5, and he tells your husband to fuck off. So
Oh, that's real annoying sounding. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
it was
It is.
challenging. It presented some real challenges, especially for people who were trying to figure stuff out.
Well, and I think that, like the captain's wife, for example, the captain probably told his wife, oh, yeah, I got specialist so-and-so who's just acting up. So then, captain's wife comes to this meeting and is like, so-and-so's wife, I hear your husband's fucking up. What's going on with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that happened. And it's like, that's none of your business what's happening.
Wow.
I've sent a picture to my sister and brother-in-law because he just got his staff sergeant promotion. There's a picture of two guys. They look like they're in a Safari and a hippo charging at them, mouth wide open. It just says, "My husband's a staff sergeant."
Yeah. Yeah, you get those types, and you get that. You could tell really quick, and who was there to support their husband or their significant other, and who was just there to take the paycheck and spend it. We saw that.
And we saw that, too.
We saw that quite a bit, and you figured out who was solid and who wasn't. You figured out who the good guys were and the bad guys were, or at least what you thought was a good guy. And then you had people who were massively disappointed. And then you thought there were some people who you thought were going to be a disappointment, and they turned out to be a freaking shining star on the hill. It was like solid as fuck. So it was a unique experience for everybody involved on
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, when you were gone for New Year's, me and one of the wives were hanging out, like, what do we do on New Year's? We got these kids, what are we gonna do? We decided we're gonna paint my kitchen. and we went, oh, there's no paint stores open. It's New Year's Eve. Everything is closed. We can't even buy a paintbrush. And my friend is like, hey, I know somebody who just redid their house. Let's call him up and see if he has any leftover paint. So we did, and he did, and so we're driving around.
The poor professional painter here is going.
I know.
I didn't want to bring this in.
I know one company
degrees
that's
of
on New Year's. It's gonna be my biography.
Well, we decided to do this at 10 o'clock at night.
Oh, yeah. Good.
Remember any of this, Hannah?
Remember us painting the kitchen, army green?
Yeah.
Why we chose that? Well,
Yeah.
this guy had. It's what he had extra.
Yeah, and I remember going, that's an interesting color. Okay. They must know what they're doing.
Where's
Yeah,
my
they-
dollies?
Josh, did you have any concerns? Have to leave your family back. I mean, life doesn't stop over here, but
I trusted Jen implicitly, and I never had any concerns whatsoever. I was worried, I would say. She had 3.
Well, at the time, actually, we haven't brought it up, but what we did earlier, you moved here because of your son.
Yeah.
And,
Jordan. Yeah, my
and
son
Jordan,
came
his
over with us.
son, was living with us at that time during
He
the
was
first
an
deployment.
He was such an angry kid.
He was
Angry.
15
15.
when you
yeah.
did your first deployment, and that was one of my biggest challenges because he's gone and I'm dealing with a very angry, very violent 15-year-old who thought it was a good idea to, hit mom. So, that was really one of my
was more
biggest
worrying,
challenges,
yeah.
but
Yeah, it
we've
was-
moved past that now. It's okay.
Josh, how do you how do you pack that part up, because you still have to prepare yourself to go over there, and I imagine you're going through the motions that the Army is putting for you, but
Honestly, what I did was, I knew she was going to be a single mom, for an extended period of time. Basically, what I packaged that up as was, as far as the home front goes, she's the boss, and what she wanted to do was, I was 100% behind her. She had 100% of my support. I don't think I ever questioned anything that
Yeah.
it was, I'm deferring to you because I need to focus on this. And she knew that. I mean, we had talked about it, and it was just, look, you got this, I trust you, and, but it's just, we're still that way.
Right, we are, and we made big decisions while you were gone. Like, you were gone, and
bought the house while I was
we
gone.
bought the house. So power of attorney, I'm signing my name and my name for him, POA Josh Eads,
Yeah.
and so I mean that's a big life decision that couples make, and we had to make it while he was in Iraq.
Like I said,
And our identity
have
got
any-
stolen while you were at NTC, and I dealt with that. That was a funny story.
I get a call from my first sergeant, get Sergeant Eads down here, I need to see him. So I go running into the first sergeant office, and the first sergeant, I'm standing at parade rest and all, parade rest and all that, He's like, when the fuck did you go to fucking Mexico? And I was like, first sergeant? We were locked out, we couldn't go anywhere. He was fucking with me, and he's like, you need to call your wife right now, goddammit. She's pissed off at you because you went to fucking Mexico, so go. I went and called her up. She's like, did you go to Mexico or Spain?
What?
Well, all
That
the
would be kind of hard for me to do. Yeah, it'd be kind of hard for me to do. And I
fell
was like,
asleep on the cargo plane and woke up.
Well, we had to
To be honest,
verify
it seemed
that.
like it was a good idea at the time.
We had to verify that he had the card on him
Yeah.
in his possession, whatever. Because then I'm filing a claim with Wells Fargo, and it was awful.
It
but
was funny. We laughed about it. At the time, it was scary, but now we laugh about it. It
Yeah.
was-
Hannah and Sarah, what was it like for you growing up? Your dad's in the Army, and what was it like then, that first deployment? Mom and dad telling you, Dad's gotta go fight the bad guys.
I don't really remember much of the first deployment. I kind of remember picking you up in a limo from the airport.
when you came home on leave,
When you came home on leave, maybe.
or
Mom got us all dressed up in like these dresses, and
Yeah, that was.
and I just remember she was smoking cigarettes like it was, like none
Chain
other.
smoking.
Yeah, we both used to
And-
smoke.
Oh yeah, like all the time. And then I think Coco was smoking too.
The whole family did.
Everybody was smoking.
Some of
And,
them still do.
and then the limo pulled up and we came and got you. And
Yeah.
I remember that, but I don't remember. I just kind of knew that Dad had to leave, and that he wasn't gonna be back for a while. But we'd still kind of talk to him every now and then. But it wasn't like I said though. I was super young for the first one. So I don't remember much. I remember kind of being like, oh, I miss him. I have some. I mean, the second deployment, it was like because I was in fourth grade in my second when he was in the second deployment, and I remember on Skype, me and Becca would get distracted dancing in the living room, and he'd still be on there and be like, hello, are you guys there? And me and Becca are in La La Land.
And
Or I remember when you came home for leave and
Skype was.
Can you, this is the second time that you've said that. Can you
So
expand a little bit on that?
Skype.
I mean, I'm sure you're not mad at the Skype company, but
on the company itself.
you mean
The first
Microsoft.
deployment,
Right.
on the
There you
first
go.
deployment, we just had MSN Messenger, so we would sit there and chat. And
but we
Or
could pull
you
up a
could-
picture, so we had a video feed, but with no sound.
yeah, so you could sit there and look at each other going,
Enhance.
And there was a delay.
or you could call, But calling was very difficult because their 8 o'clock in the morning was my 2 o'clock in the morning, And so we really had to nail down times when you could call, and it was very difficult because everybody else was trying to call at the same time. So you would try to figure out an off time when you could call, And it was a little bit different because on the first deployment we were in a pretty bad area, So I mean, we would take contact fairly regularly. When you took contact, everything would just shut off. And you would hear it coming because they would sound the sirens and stuff, and I would just have to go like, hey baby, I gotta stop, I gotta go, bye, love you, and when she would hear stuff like that, it
And
was
I don't sleep for 2 days till he can get back.
because they would have a communication shutdown, So Skype, the reason why I preferred that shitty way of communicating over Skype is because Skype, you could sit there and you could have a face-to-face conversation, but people got really easily distracted. The kids were like, hey dad, love you, bye, and away you go. And due to the times when you were talking, it was not great times for her. She was trying to get kids into bed, or she was trying to get them off to school,
Or I was at work.
or she was at work, so it never, you were always just like, okay, well, I'll talk to you later, bye, and we really just we just got to the point where we were like, we would call out specific days at certain times, usually on the weekends, and we kind of,
Well,
we
and it
didn't
got,
communicate all
yeah,
that well.
and the second deployment, I don't want to jump around too much, but the second deployment was much different for you,
Yeah.
and I wasn't so worried about it because you were in a much safer area, relatively speaking, and you had a lot more free time on your hands, whereas now I had started working, I was in school, I was doing all of this stuff, plus taking care of the kids, and you had all this free time, so you're like, hey, I'm gonna Skype Jen, and you're trying to talk to me, and I'm like,
Talk dirty to me, baby.
I'm like,
I'm trying to get the kids to school. I'm not talking to anybody.
and I was so busy all the time that I just didn't have, I didn't have the availability that he did.
Sarah in here, how do you feel about their comment?
That was my best Gordon impression.
So, Hannah, you
getting
guys are
better.
thrilled to hearing these stories.
I'm used to it. They hear me say stuff like that.
That's
But Hannah, what do you remember?
Honestly, a lot of it is a blur now. I remember being stressed out because I was seeing my mom stressed out. I remember hearing stuff like in passing at school and not really knowing a ton about what it meant. And I remember being really, really worried for Dad because I was scared the bad guys were going to get him.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the main chunk of what I remember.
How old were you? Sorry. So I was in seventh grade by 9/11. So
I was in what, first, second grade?
No, do the math. I'm not an accountant. Wait, I am an accountant.
Wait a minute.
I'm just a security guard. You're the math lady.
Okay,
No.
for the first deployment, you were in.
You were 7 or 8 for the
Yeah.
first deployment, so you would remember more
It's just like little snippets and
the emotion.
yeah, I remember more the emotions of things and like really, really stressed out nights where she would be like my mom, meaning she, my mom would be like sitting at the kitchen table like crying. I don't like thinking about her crying because that makes me emotional because I'm an emotional person. But just more the emotions of how things were and being really, really scared and stressed. And telling everybody that I could at school that, yeah, my dad is fighting the bad guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was one of the only kids that I knew who had a parent that was deployed. And so everyone would always be like, oh, that's kind of cool. What do they do? Oh, well, he's fighting the bad guys. Oh.
My dad's a knuckle dragger. He walks around going, me like zug zug.
I'm not sure it's the norm.
Do you like Zug Zug though? Or did they just tell you you like Zug Zug?
So did the other couples in the FRG have kids? Were you able to hang out with them at all?
Yeah, there was the one girl that I painted the kitchen with. She had a daughter who's the same age as Hannah, also named Hannah, but they didn't really get along.
Oh, we did.
I was more of a let's go play in the mud with sticks and leaves, and she was more let's brush Barbie doll hair and
Yeah.
talk about boys.
Yeah.
So,
Barbie sucks.
I mean,
How many Barbies have you lit on fire?
well, 0, but I lost count of the amount that like mysteriously lost their heads.
Oh, shit.
Okay, Wednesday.
Hey, the Addams Family is great.
Yeah,
That's a
actually
compliment.
a
Thank you.
compliment for him.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
By the second deployment, did you remember more at that point?
A little bit more, yeah. I was more busy trying to fit in at school and not seem like the odd person out. Everyone, it always baffled me because everyone would always be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry your dad is deployed. I'm so sorry." And it's like,
Yeah, people
I
did
don't-
say that to me too.
I'm proud that my dad is off defending our country. Why are you sorry about this?
Yeah.
It's not like he went missing. It's not like he died. Why are you sorry? So that
I
was
think a lot of times people don't know really what to say, and that becomes almost like a Pavlovian response for
Yeah.
people. You know, like you tell people nowadays, you know, you're like, yeah, I was in the service, and they're, oh, thank you for. It's almost automatic. Like they automatically say it. You know, oh, well, thank you for your service. You know, it's like, thank you, I appreciate it, and I'm always uncomfortable with that. Like I never know what to say. I don't know what the right
Yeah, and that
response
was
is,
one of the
you
big
know?
takeaways from the last time that I was on the show that we sort of talked about this. It was the fact that you guys were like, I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah, it's a challenging thing, you know, because you get there's one of two responses that you get, and it has been my experience. Like people find out that you were, when you were a combat MOS, and they're like, oh, really? Well, did you kill anybody? You know,
Fucking
Oh yeah.
I have fun with it now. It used to piss me off. It was like, well, does it make me a bad soldier if I didn't? You get all angry and shit like that. Now I have fun with it. I'm like, only when we got hungry. Or only when they didn't clean the bathrooms. Stuff like that, because it's a psychological defense response is what it is, because I got tired of being angry about it, so you make fun of it. Humor is almost always the best. You talk to firemen, or you talk to cops, or you talk to soldiers. We have a very twisted sense of humor,
Yeah.
and it kind of bleeds if I think I contaminated my children with it.
you think?
One likes dead baby jokes, the other one doesn't. But they'll
No,
laugh
it's
at
the
me.
wife that hates the dead baby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Those are definitely, you'll get canceled these days.
yeah.
Hashtag canceled. So you were able to stay communicated with each other, but and then you went into it. You guys were able to schedule calls and that. But do the two of you, do you have good memories of? I think we've worked over toward the second deployment, but do you have different memories of the second deployment between the two of you of the communication set when that went down?
I know that we were able to talk to Dad more, and that was kind of something that was really important. I remember.
You guys got to see me too.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up.
Oh wait, so you did go to Mexico?
Yeah, we went to New Mexico.
Close.
Yeah.
El Paso.
Oh yeah, and that was pretty fun because we also got to see Grandpa and Grandma.
Was that a leave situation? Or?
Yeah.
We had block leave
In
for 2 weeks. Yeah.
About what year, month?
So that was in 2000. It was late 2009, right before we headed over.
Okay. Now,
It was our last leave before the day they left. We were boarding the planes to go over. So
got it. So you came back in 2005, and then the gap between your deployment was.
Yep. So 2005. You came back and you had terminal leave. So we didn't. From about October to March of the following year in 2006, we didn't do anything military. I didn't work. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't do anything.
Yep. So this is the
Which
gap that
was-
we were talking about. That I'm really sorry to backtrack on this, and Jenny, if this is a tough thing for you, but I would with respect to the aftermath of the first deployment, I mean, what was your feeling on
So
you know, and how he was when he came back? Like, we went over how you were. You got a lot of alcohol, and you guys were able to
Yeah,
kind
I
of
was fucked up.
defrag a little, and
I
you
was
said you
fucked up.
maybe would have gone to prison. It was just as a therapy session. I'm sorry, but
Right.
you know,
No.
generally,
It's so one thing of, you know, even before deployment. So just Josh's entire, from the time he enlisted until he retired, when he would have his drills on the weekends, he would come back on Sunday, and it wasn't until like Monday night that we could be like, okay, he's back mentally, because we would call it, he was in military mode or army mode. And it took him just, you know, when he did his weekend things, it took him a day to get out of that,
Especially as I went up in rank.
especially as you went up in rank.
No joke. It's like, you know, it seems like it's funny, but you know, you yell a lot more as you get more rank.
Yeah. And when he did, you know, like when he did the 2 weeks that he would have to do in the summer, being in military mode lasted a little bit longer when he got back. And it was, you know, kind of an adjustment period. The girls kind of learned, don't ask Dad for things when he first
Yeah.
gets back.
yeah.
Because he would talk to them like they were soldiers, not little girls. Because he had to get the mindset switched back around. And he tried doing that to me. I think one time he tried to give me the knife hand, but that was once. That was once, and I put it in his
you guys were listening, and he, right on cue, he went, knife hand.
Yeah, but you don't give your wife the knife
I
hand.
think we're exactly what we're doing. Hell no, motherfucker.
So you know, if you put that into perspective of, you know, so 2 days, 2 weeks, okay, now it was 18 months when he got back from his first deployment. It had been 18 months that he was gone, and he was very angry. He was very aggressive. I mean, not like aggressive towards us, but just his general demeanor was just, I'm an angry man kind of thing. You know, he was
He did not fuck with me.
no, he was
did not fuck with me
super
at all.
paranoid. Being in
go
public
anywhere,
places, you see trash on the side of the road, and he's like, "What is that?" You know, because everything is a danger. Go into a crowd, and it's dangerous because that's where his mind has been for 18 months. And still to this day, if we go to a restaurant, he has to sit wherever he can see the door.
Yeah.
And
See the
before he
exit.
sits down, he's scoping it out. So that was, you know, magnified times a million when he first got back. He was pretty intense. And yeah, he hasn't, I mean, even to this day, it's been years and years now, he hasn't told me everything that he's done and seen, and that's okay. He can tell me whatever he wants. But when he first came back and he told me a few things, I think my nightmares were as intense as his, and I wasn't even there. So, I mean, he had to work through a lot of that. The girls wouldn't wake him up if he was
Yeah,
sleeping.
that was a big
Oh,
no-no.
no.
That was
Oh,
a
no.
big no-no.
Don't come around the corner and scare him.
Can you tell me why?
'Cause he would wake up and he would be
Yeah.
running,
Yeah,
kind
he
of.
would be waking up and he would
Or it's
it would be army mode right there, right when he
Yeah.
would wake up, because you would wake him up and he would be startled, and it would be army mode, and he would be like, whoa, what's going on, what do I, you know, and
yeah, it would put him into almost an instant panic, being
Yeah.
woken up suddenly,
yeah, so
and so it was.
a fight reaction.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I learned that the hard way with some friends of mine. I'm not a little guy by any means, but I found myself on the other side of the room a couple times.
yeah.
You know, again, don't make bad decisions when you're early 20s. And, oh, my best friend's back from Iraq. I gotta go shake him awake. Nope.
Yeah, no.
Bad idea.
Okay, so we're talking about the aftermath of the first deployment and that. So then, you know, take us there. So after 2005, we've got what's happening here, and your next deployment doesn't happen until.
So 2005 we came back. We didn't have I didn't have drill from about October until March or April of the next year in 2006, and that was really bad. That was a really bad idea. Because they cut you loose, you know. But anyways, I'm getting off into the weeds again. So you get back into the swing of things. We didn't have to do AT in 2006, but we started drilling every month again. And then after that, it changed. Like once we started in 2000, it was late 2006, 2007. It started going from, you had to be there Thursday night all the way through the weekend, and ATs became 3 weeks instead of 2. And the Army changed. Just the whole dynamics of it changed. It used to be fun. Lack of better words, it used to be fun, and then it all of a sudden became work. And then it became something that you really just did not care for. But at that point in time, I was already past the 2008. I hit 10 years, and so then I started getting promoted. And all of a sudden promotions started becoming very, very important.
And lucrative.
And lucrative. So 2008, 2009, I got promoted to E6 and took my 6s over at Alpha Company over in Menominee. And then we started hearing hints, allegations, and rumors of a new deployment coming up. And it looked like it was going to happen, and so we started prepping for the next deployment. And for me, that one was tougher. For Jen, like she said, I thought it was more difficult, but it was a different mission. It wasn't a traditional infantry mission. It was more like a garrison mission.
Yeah, so why was it more difficult? Can you get more into that?
One, we were underneath MPs. Infantry and MPs do not mix.
Okay.
2,
Why?
because we hate each other's guts.
MPs are military police for those that are listening
Fucking
uninitiated.
cops, and they think they freaking do the same thing that we do, and they don't.
They fall under the, is it POG?
POG,
Personal
yeah.
grade importance.
Yeah, they think they're freaking, they're frontline combat troops, and they're not. They're freaking you direct traffic, you fucking piece of shit. So, whatever. But yeah, it's I know guys who are MPs, and they're good dudes. It's professional rivalry shit, But they really should not have put us underneath. And it was a training and supervisory mission when they should have given that to some truck drivers or people who do training all the time, because we were training infantry correction officers, and that's not the kind of training that infantry does. I could give a fuck less about less than lethal weapons. I don't need any training on that. But that's what we did. And it was a free-by mission right from the, it was a furball right off the bat. We didn't enjoy it, and it led to a whole other world of problems, that we shouldn't have had to deal with. If we had been dealing with a regular straight infantry mission where, we're kicking in doors or whatnot. I don't know why they didn't send us to Afghanistan. We were supposed to go to Afghanistan, and at the last minute we got put on Iraq, but whatever. Above my pay grade, as the old saying goes.
So speaking of that, and I'm looking at the notes here, something that I haven't thought of, Gordon and I never really thought of here until listening to a different podcast. It was the financial side of things. I guess maybe that's overly personal, and I apologize again for.
That's one of the most important aspects.
I was listening to another show, and it's a retired SEAL that does a podcast now, but he's talking about, he's in the helicopter going on target, and he's thinking about, the water heater that's broke down, or do I have enough money in the bank account to pay the mortgage this month? And how do you deal with that? And Josh, how do you
say this?
Put that in the back of your head?
I was extremely, extremely blessed. I was very lucky. I did not have to worry about that stuff, because at that point in time, Jen had already really kind of came into her own as being on the accountant side of things. She had the finances and everything like that. I never had to worry about it. I was lucky. I was the exception to the rule, because I would hear guys talking about stuff like that, and fuck my truck payment or this, that, and the other thing, and some guys got really, really screwed over by some, different companies, for the grace of God or the gods, I did not go because I had someone who was she had me freaking completely covered. My back was completely covered up, and I was extremely lucky. You know, I never had to deal with it. I never had to deal with any financial worries or anything other than she was giving me she would read off a financial report, just like, you know, I'm in a motorcycle club and it's like the treasurer is reading off the money report. You know, she would give me a report every time we talked together. This is what I've done with this. This is what I moved money to this. I had to pay for this. You know, all of our loans are up to date. We're good. Blah blah blah. You're making really good money. I'm freaking doing this with this, and we're saving them. But it was all roses. Now, whether or not that was really the case,
Can you tell us about that metamorphosis for you? Like, how did that work?
if it wasn't, she did it on purpose because she knew I couldn't deal with that stress. Yeah,
So, you know, as far as the finances go, so, yes, I'm an accountant and my mother is a banker. So, you know, she was a good support too, like saying, all right, so he's going to be gone, you're going to have fixed income, you're going to know exactly what you're getting every month, because before that, you know, he and I both worked hourly jobs, whatever, so it was actually kind of a luxury to have like a salaried fixed pay. I always knew what was coming in, I knew what to expect, and he was, you know, he's deferring a lot, but he was really good too, because he'd be like, okay, so I need a new pair of boots. I can order them and have them shipped right here to me in Iraq. I can get them from, you know, the commissary or whatever, the PX.
PX.
But I need a couple $100, and I'd be like, cool, I've got it in the budget, go get your damn boots. So, I mean, he was really good about communicating that too, so it was never like, well, what's this money that's been spent? I don't know what this is. Now we're in trouble and I can't make the house payment.
It was a
You know,
teamwork.
we talked about it, we communicated, and
Not that shit didn't happen like that, you know.
right.
But you know,
But,
we
you
were
know-
always a team about it.
Yeah, and when he was deployed, I mean, it was kind of nice because we got, not nice that he was in a dangerous place, but we got combat pay, hazard pay.
Where's my motherfucking money?
And while he's deployed, it was tax exempt,
Tax
so, you know, that's always a bonus too. And we didn't really have a problem with that while he was deployed. I think we were able to
We were very lucky.
take care of it.
We saw couples who did not manage their money well. And we saw couples who one took advantage of the other, you know, and it makes you really angry when you think about it.
She
you know,
took all of his money and blew it, and he got back
and
and
ran away
didn't
to
have.
Florida when he got back, you know, with somebody else. Like I said, you really see some of the true character if people come out, you know. But,
Jen, did you see that stuff kind of going on maybe in the beginning and kind of go, here's what not to do?
Well, kind of. I mean, there's one example that he's giving. None of us in the group liked her that much because we saw what she was doing. You know, we saw what she was doing, and we're like, you're kind of a piece of shit, and we don't want to be around that. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, you like he said earlier, you pick out pretty quick who the people you want to hang out with are, and those that you need to just kind of shine on.
And I want to backtrack. I forgot one question, but so second, third deployment by that time, you're middle school by third deployment?
Second deployment.
Second deployment, I was in
So-
5th grade.
You have sports and, you know, social life and all
Right.
that, but you're saying you by that time, you knew, let's talk at this time on the weekends and stuff. I mean, did you two try to like, I want to go to this party, but it's my time to go talk to my dad? Did you rearrange anything like that or navigate through, you know?
See, Mom always kind of planned like the play dates with my friends. So whatever she was like, yep, you can go and do whatever Friday night, but Saturday night it's dad talk, or Sunday night we're talking to dad or something like. So because I was so young, so he and I might have a totally different.
I mean, it's similar, because I was in middle school at the time. No, it would be, hey, don't forget, at this time, this day, we're talking to your dad. And I'm like, yeah, no, won't miss it. I'm gonna go play video games at my friend's house now.
Yeah.
And I really tried not to have his deployment impact their activities and their relationships that they had. You know, if they wanted to go hang out with their friends, cool. They could talk to Dad next time. And, you know, the first deployment, it's not like we had Skype to talk to him, so they could look at him in a little video feed that was on a delay, and they could make faces at him, but they couldn't talk to him. They couldn't hear his voice unless he called.
Talking about the first deployment, though, I do remember, like, a lot of these moments. Mom had a video camera, and she'd be like, all right, girls, Dad, say hi to Dad, it's Christmas, or, like, you know, like, tell Dad what you got for Christmas. And I remember Mom just going around with the camera, and us girls just going around the couch, and, hey, Dad, like, look at, this is, you know, stuff like that I really remember. And then I remember, you know, kind of watching those again with him, and it's really crazy, because it's like, it was a totally different life, you know. We had a totally...
When you get that stuff overseas, you know, and she'd, like, send the little...
Flash drives.
The flash drives or the cards, you know, and you plug it in and watch it. That shit saves you, man. I mean, it's like...
Say goodnight, Gracie.
Yeah, you need that. You need that stuff, man. You need it, you know, because you're getting a little piece of home right there. You know, it was holy crap.
There's like videos of us dancing.
Plus, she would
around.
sneak the little shooters of scotch into my socks. Goddamn, baby, I love you.
And then she's like, where's my motherfucking mom?
And Josh, I just want to transition you coming home a little bit more. You know, last time you guys were on the show, you talked about, you said you flew into Texas, was it?
Yeah, so on the first deployment coming back, we flew into Texas. And then we came back up here. Second deployment, we flew into Maine. We were in Maine. Bangor, Maine. Which is just the weirdest name for a town. How do you think they got that name? Bangor. We'll find out. It was two different experiences both times. You know, I mean, it was strange. Yeah, you go through Texas, and you know the locals there are just like, you know, they're pouring. We had one guy come up and drop $100 bill on us. He's like, "Drink up, fellas." You know, you go through Bangor, Maine, they're just like, "Are you in the army?" Yeah, in the army. Yeah.
Jen, did you? You said you took was it the extended prowler?
The
van.
That was after the first.
the stretch prowler.
Yeah, the stretch prowler. Sorry,
We're talking about the second
you
one now?
took the stretch prowler down before. Did you do
Yeah,
that again when
so,
you flew into Maine or anything like that?
Nope. So when they came in, they flew into Texas on the
Oh,
first
you're talking
one.
about leave stuff. I thought you meant when like we were coming home.
Oh, that's what I'm. Yeah, we leave. Okay,
I'm so
yeah,
sorry
I was
that we were
confused.
transitioning into
Yeah.
coming home number 2, or
Yeah, so coming home number 2, they brought us straight to Fort McCoy, you know, but they wouldn't let anybody near us. It had totally changed at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood the question. Yeah, on the second deployment coming back. So the first deployment, we came back through Texas, and then we ended up at Fort McCoy. I mean, both times we ended up at Fort McCoy. The first deployment, they were like, yeah, anybody can come in, come and go, blah, blah, blah. And the second one, they completely isolated.
They learned,
Yeah.
I think.
why?
You know?
If
Because they were getting you back into Army mode, so like we were doing PT every day. We were going to these classes. They were offering counseling.
Can you tell me about the classes?
Classes like on, you know, for VA benefits, stuff like that. Different benefits that, you know, now that you're a veteran. I had already been to all these, you know, things before, but different classes on like what it was going to be like. You know, they had learned the suicide rate and the divorce rate from those first 3. I would say even through the first 5 phases of the war, guys were coming back and they didn't know how to readjust. I mean, they gave you some guidance on it, but you know, I had an incident one time when I first came back. It was actually, geez, uncle. I was driving down the road, and all of a sudden somebody lit off fireworks. It was right around the 4th of July, you know, and somebody lit off fireworks right next to my truck, you know, and it was boom, 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 you know. And next thing I know, everything went desert brown again. I was driving down. It was right on over by the Episcopalian church over there in the Jehovah's Witness place. W over there in Hudson. And I'm driving down the middle of the road. People are freaking, honking and trying to get out of the way. But all I saw was freaking. I heard shit going on, and I'm like, I went back to, what had happened before. It was really difficult to get, like, I didn't go anywhere without a gun. I still don't. I didn't bring one in here, but there's one out in the truck.
Well, I mean, if Casey gets up.
Yeah, take my teeth, motherfucker.
Thanks for not saying fingernails. I was the fingernail guy, and not the teeth guy.
I can regrow the fingernails, the teeth. It's a precious commodity right there.
Listen to Department of Defense on Blind Ninja Studios.
But it's challenging, man. I mean, and they don't come in. They don't have somebody going, look, you guys have been carrying around an M4 and a 9mm around for the past 2 years, year and a half. We're not going to get to do that anymore. You tell that to freaking a whole bunch of soldiers who are coming back. They're going to look at you and the fuck I ain't. The fuck I ain't. I carried a freaking M4 around with me for a long ass time. I'd tuck it under my seat and shit, or to have it broke down and stuff. But I carried an M4 around with freaking about 300, 400 rounds of, ammo with me everywhere I went, just because I needed that security blanket. They don't teach you about stuff like that when you first come back. They don't teach you all this stuff that, you're looking for freaking, you walk into a freaking restaurant, you're looking freaking, okay, I can get out there, I can get out there, I can get out there. That shaggy motherfucker over there is giving me the freaking eyeball, They don't teach you about stuff like that, Second deployment came around. Well, now we had already learned it, we knew what to expect, But we were presented with different challenges that they did. Again, they don't really teach you for it, She's been used. One thing I forgot to mention is that on my second deployment, while she was managing this household, she was also going to college full time.
And working
full time.
Wow. And being a mom, which is
I've done that.
She had a lot on her table, or on her plate and her table. So when I came back, I'm used to freaking commanding, platoon of men, and so I come back. I'm an alpha male. Well, she's an alpha female. We butted heads. We were like this. They don't prep you for that. They're like, well, now your wife might have a little bit of stuff that she's used to doing. Okay, so you're gonna. Who the fuck talks like that? I'm walking into the house, bitch. Give me a fucking beer and a turkey pot pie. God damn it, I'm in charge.
Turkey pot pie.
Yeah, it's from the Breakfast Club. Bitch, fix me a turkey pot pie.
Oh my God. So there was a major adjustment.
She's like, but she had a major adjustment.
Well, I'd rather all of you, but
because she's like, you need to go to bed now. What? I didn't go to bed right now. I'm watching TV, But she's so used to telling all the girls, look, it's bedtime. Let's go. Time for bed. Everybody's going to bed. You're going to bed. So they don't prep you for stuff like this, and it is a strong adjustment when you come back, and it throws you for a loop because you're used to one thing. You've been doing this for, a while now, and you get used to doing it, and you get used to that authority. That authority becomes an integral part of who you are. It's part of, I am the mom. You will do what I say, when I say, how I say it. Now, execute, go. I am the staff sergeant, acting platoon sergeant. You will do what I say, when I say, how I say it, and when I say it. Execute. Go. So you get into a battle of knife hands.
wait, you only did that once though, right?
That's when I did it. Listen here, bitch.
So the adjustment for Josh makes sense. Appreciate that. as far as Jenny, like as far as you went, then we'll get to you young gals here. Like, so like we're cooking, cleaning, household chores, honey-do list, like things like that. Like where we're at.
I will say that the second deployment, I was looking forward to him coming back home. Yes, I missed my husband, whatever. But at the same time, I was kind of like, he doesn't have to come back.
Oh God.
Yeah, I mean, I had it. I had everything taken care of. Everything was under control. I had, it was fine.
Think about it though, it's normal, man.
Yeah.
Anybody else hear that
normal.
18-wheeler
It's
that
totally
Josh
normal.
just went underneath?
Yeah.
I heard it back up then.
I've been hit by so many times.
They do have a reverse. Yeah.
But, I mean,
We actually told this to each other. We had to sit down and be like, "This is how." Anyways, I
yeah,
don't
well,
know.
it's true. I mean, we did talk about it, and I'm like, look, I have my routines, I have systems, I have, schedules, and you can't come in here and try to change everything just because you're home. I've got this all under control. Everything is fine with or without you here. Don't mess it up. And I will say he was upset for a long time because the girls wouldn't come to him. Can I go play at the park? Can I go to my friend's house? Can I do this? Can I do that? Because they hadn't asked Dad that for a long time. It was always they come to Mom to ask. And he would be like, why don't they ask me? You were busy. You were doing stuff. Why didn't they just ask me? And I said, because they don't know how to ask you. They've been doing it.
They didn't know. It was,
And the military mode plays into that a little bit, because it would be Monday night, you need to go over to a study buddy's place to work on a project. Hey Mom, can I get a ride? Yeah, sure, no problem. Hey Dad, can I get a ride? Where are you going? What are you doing? Who are you going to be with? How long are you going to be there? Kind of thing. So it's one of those like, I'm just going to ask Mom because I forgot that you just got back from drill, and we're going to go from there.
I didn't
Kind
know.
of a thing.
You don't know.
Yeah,
Sarah?
and
Thoughts?
yeah.
I mean, no, exactly. No, I mean, drill was way more different than the deployments. The deployments, it was kind of shaky for a long time. I mean, Mom kind of got us in a routine. It was
Yeah.
homework, eat, bed, morning, school, repeat, And then you came in and it wasn't like anything bad. It was awesome because you were there and we were like, we don't have to see Dad over a computer that's all fuzzy. And, and we're trying to do our routine, and it was kind of like you would try to tell us something like, oh, girls, help with the dishes or something, or, then it would just be like, oh, but it's homework time right now.
Yeah.
And it was kind of stuff like that. With drill, it was like he was in army mode for a day or two, and we were like, fine. AT was whatever too, because it was a couple days. You were fine. And I mean, it wasn't anything terrible. It was always awesome having you around. I mean, it was like,
Except for that one time.
except for that one time. Except for that one time, we're like, you could probably go back. No.
Go back to Fort McCoy, you dick.
No, I mean, Hannah really said it perfectly.
Yeah.
For some reason, I remember you always getting mad that we didn't have your phone number memorized. And I remember I was like, I have to memorize his phone
I
number.
don't know.
See, I pre-cell phone, I knew 30 numbers off the top of my head. Now, I go to this, Hallmark, and do you have a Hallmark rewards? Mom does.
Yeah.
What's your number?
Hold on, let's go for it.
You only need to remember one. It's the one that'll bail you out. So, or well, maybe two.
Yeah. No, you don't call her. She told me one time that if we went to jail, she would leave us there at night. So
Man, give
Yeah,
it a
that's what my parents said too.
I had to call Grandma. Grandma would come get me.
What are some of the funny stories? Like, I got a couple. I got some.
Oh, it's Josh's podcast now.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Some of the first-
Thank you for listening to Josh's podcast. We prepared everything for NPR.
And that's where Josh gets close to the mic. Like, it took him this long.
One of the more funnier stories I think I have is we had those MREs, the food.
Meals ready to eat,
Yes,
right?
yep, oh yeah, and we had leftover ones, And I remember we didn't have food to make, and Mom was like, well, let's just eat these.
Oh God,
And I
that's a
remember,
form of torture.
yeah, no, but it was so, it was
What kind of MRE was it?
I think it was ravioli, wasn't it?
Ravioli.
But I think it was just Chef Boyardee in a bag, basically, because it wasn't too terribly great. And then there was the peanut butter and the crackers and stuff.
So good.
But that
Those things
was
plug you up so bad, man. You can't shit.
Really?
Oh God, you can't
Like
shit
just
straight
MREs as a whole, or that
Yeah, man,
specific
you
one?
can't shit straight for a week after
She's
you
done.
went out.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's dehydrated food, so I mean, it soaks
Yeah.
up all the water out of your
Yeah.
body, you know, and you're like, fuck, dude. Next time you go to give a freaking poop, you're giving birth. You know?
they,
Run the grunt truck. You know?
What's the thing you just 3D printed? Use the Force and it's Darth Vader.
Oh, yeah.
Darth Vader on the toilet. Anyway, moving on.
One of my favorite like funny memories is I think this was after the first deployment because you still smoked then, and he would walk us to school, and on the way like to and from school he would, like every time we saw like a dead squirrel on the side of the road he would quick pop out the pack of smokes and run out to the middle of the road and quick put a cigarette in the squirrel's mouth and be like, that's what happens when you smoke, kids. Every single time. It was so great.
Interrupting a squirrel taking a nap and you give it a cigarette? Come on!
one of the best.
Yeah, I've been a freaking picture cell phones.
All the squirrels popping are like, thank you, sir. Like, you are a gentleman.
That guy's all right, man. I wish
One of the best memories I've had though is when you came home from leave, or when you came home on leave,
Yeah.
and Mom over here was the little sneaky one.
I surprised them both.
And she told us because we had found out that he was coming home for leave. And we were so excited, and then Mom was like, actually, you guys, like, Dad can't come home. But they were planning on surprising us. I remember I was so upset. I was like, really, dude? Like, I just wanted to see my dad. And me and Becca, I should have known something was up because Hannah came and picked me and Becca up from school that day. And me and Becca were like, Hannah, what are you doing? She's like, oh, I decided to walk you guys home. Like, I'm here. And then we were like, something's fishy, but we didn't say much. So we were walking. We weren't really talking to each other. It was kind of, Hannah was like single file line because it was Hannah. And it was Hannah, me, and then Becca. And,
Oh, just call her on out.
yeah, no.
You will be in this line. You will walk right behind me.
And nobody was talking. No.
To her credit, I was a little bit of a mother hen
Oh,
as a result
completely.
of the
What?
deployments.
She was a mother hen, and then Becca was the one who threw all the tantrums. And I was just like, what is going on?
Yeah, I was.
Forgotten in the middle. Yep. Yeah. No. But all of a sudden, I remember hearing I hear Becca stop and go, Daddy? And I went to turn around and be like, Becca, Dad's not coming home. And all of a sudden, our dad is standing right there in between these bushes, and he's like, what is going
Squinting
on?
and waving.
And there was a squirrel with a
Dad
cigarette.
He's like, what's up?
Back again, huh? Kids don't smoke. Good to see you, Josh.
But then Mom came around the corner, and then Uncle Joey came around the corner, and then we went to Green Mill and surprised Coco.
Yeah, that was a fun.
That's
so
one of the
fun.
best memories that I have of everything.
One of
It was goofed up because I was supposed to be at a certain point, and they had already walked out. So I just ran into this person's bushes. And I remember looking over, the guy was like looking out his window. He had the old face going on.
He's a veteran, goddammit.
I'm a veteran, yeah. So I didn't realize they had walked. I was supposed to stop, like when I saw Hannah, I was supposed to freaking hop out and be like, "Hey, girls!" You know, it's kind of creeper now. You look at it, but, you know, it's like. So I look back and Becca's already walking by, just.
Yeah, all of us like with our backpacks, we're like, la la la, 3 ducks in a row.
Yeah, I was like, Becca. Sure. Oh, anyway. Oh, hi, Dad. I was expecting like a Dad. You know, she's oh, hi, Dad. What are you doing in the bushes? His plan failed. Back to the drawing board.
But something happened where Hannah was supposed to take the bus home,
Yeah.
and then she didn't. Something happened because you were supposed to surprise her when she got off the bus.
Yeah, the first time I came home, I walked into the house. I remember this. First time I came home, and they didn't know I was coming home. Jenny dropped me off. I would go walk into the house, and all three of the girls are sitting there. They see me walking in. I'm like, "Hey, fuckers!" And Jenny's like, "Dad!" And I'm like, "Yeah, I love you, fuckers."
All about that F word.
Son of a bitch. Man.
I remember when you came home. I think it was after the second one, and you just, or it was maybe when you were on leave or something, but you still had your army stuff on, and you were just running through the house. You were like, "Oh my god, let me see your rooms," because Mom had just redone all of our rooms.
Oh yeah, that was.
And you were like,
Yeah.
"The house is so clean." Angus, I don't know.
Molly.
No, Molly wasn't alive. Molly wasn't there.
So
Angus, it was just Angus.
I'm assuming this is the family pet squirrel.
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was a cat.
Yes.
Yes.
Cow?
Cat.
Hybrid cow squirrel.
You seem like squirrel people.
No, but I just remember you running around with your army stuff.
Yeah, man.
And Hannah, you were talking about a moment before, and
Yes.
there was some Romo Jumbo, yeah.
Some of my favorite memories is just like all of us sitting around like at family gatherings and whatnot, and him telling like funny army stories, like about the cat that he had over there, or about his pet camel spider, or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And just like everybody, just the
Ivan, she was a mean motherfucker. I thought it was a dude, but it wasn't. It was a girl. I found that out the weird way too. Ivan, how'd you get all those little spiders?
She came in with a tent one night. Hey. I know you're
Russian
different.
My name is not Ivan, it is Natasha.
Hello, comrade.
In Soviet Russia, this is what we do.
in Soviet Russia, you know, catch spiders. Spiders catch you.
Yeah, those camel spider stories are pretty gnarly, actually.
Some people like them, some people don't.
I don't know of anybody that
Have you ever
likes
seen?
camel
Have you ever
spiders.
seen a picture of a camel spider?
Oh yeah, they're.
Yeah, it's gnarly as fuck.
They're like. I'm sure Gordon hates them because apparently he's afraid of spiders. That's why we hide one in the studio. It's up in the wine rack now.
I was wondering what that was actually when I saw the beanie, and I'm like, oh, maybe it's like dreads to go with the beanie.
Nope,
But
it's
no,
a little rubber
okay.
spider.
Okay, that makes sense now.
Well, you listening?
I'm not gonna ask about the naked dude up there in the corner.
Oh, that's Bert.
There's also don't ever give me crap about squirrels. I really
No, that's gonna be a thing now.
It's okay. There's a face of Brian in here too, if you can find it.
I have my own T-shirt.
But I had to step into the other room. But why, of all the things on this earth, you had a pet camel spider?
I did. So this was on the second tour. We got.
I know you have to be a special brand of crazy to go in the military. But spiders.
Look, I'm not a big spider fan. It became an obstacle, and so I was like, I want to conquer this, and so I got a camel spider, and I fed it geckos, and camel spiders are a special brand of evil. Like they will kill the gecko. They'll like run up behind it. And camel spiders are like really fast, like super fast, like you know. For all of you out there in freaking podcast land, that was a really fast movement zone.
If you can't see it, you heard it. You didn't hear it.
Too fast for your ears. Sorry.
What they'll do is they'll bite the gecko in the back of the neck and sever its spine and paralyze it, but it's still alive. They'll flip it over and they'll eat the guts out, and then they put it on its back and they carry it around with them everywhere
Like
they
a
go.
cape.
Go back.
Hannah, for all that, Hannah's freaking out, but Sarah is not.
No.
I don't
I've
just
heard
got
these stories. They're just gross. Yeah, they're just really
So
gross.
I thought that was like, that's some next level spider shit right there, And because spiders creep me out too.
I can feel my fingernails crawling.
Yeah.
Hey man, those are currency now.
Puts a whole new different meaning like teeth on those. But so we got one. We stuck it we found this little like aquarium thing, and we put it in there. It wasn't just me by myself doing this, but and we named it Ivan. And then one day, Ivan had a whole bunch of little baby camel spiders running around. We were like,
Oh boy.
yeah, we're sticking this into the freezer. And we stuck it in there, and because we just couldn't do it.
Done.
Yeah, I was like, we're not contributing to the camel spider world.
You're not a pet shop.
No. So, and then after that, it was kind of the end of the camel spider. But that is a voracious animal. Like, you could throw scorpions in there. You could throw small birds. Ivan would eat pretty much everything.
Where did you get small birds?
We had a kid who was gifted at that. Like, he would find hedgehogs. I didn't know that there were hedgehogs in Iraq, and he would find those. He would find geckos. He would find other camel spiders. How he did it, I don't know, but he was like the Steve Irwin of Iraq. And he was from Wisconsin. Danger! Oh God! I don't know.
I think that would go. Oh boy, danger!
Yeah, whoop-a, danger here, boys. You better take a look at this hedgehog.
Don't touch that one there,
You gotta be careful with these camel spiders here. They might bite you.
I don't know why I wrote
But-
that.
Yeah, the coolest critter I ever had over there was Isabel the cat, because I kept a cat, and she kept all the other. Like, I didn't have a rat problem, I didn't have a mouse problem, I didn't have a spider problem. All I did was people, for some reason, I would get care packages from all my family and stuff. And for some reason, people must have thought I liked tuna a lot, because I would get it keeps 10 or 12 packages of tuna, and like some of them were really strange tuna, like like garlic onion tuna, and it was like, you open that up and you're like, okay, I'll eat an MRE before I'm going to eat that.
Well, so this was first deployment that you're getting
This is
to,
first
right?
deployment.
So I remember in school, like,
They would tell you,
and you'd have to bring in canned food, and the cheapest canned food was always tuna. And so that's what your parents sent you to school with.
These were the bags, the slim bags, which became rather popular around that time, And people would send me
Tunas for a peanut butter.
tuna and peanut butter. And so me and my roommate, Dan Kirchhoff, you guys heard me talk about Dan Kirchhoff last time, but me and Dan we started a competition to see what did not go well with peanut butter. Tuna does not go well with peanut butter. Everything else, lay that out there. Tuna and peanut butter, especially garlic onion, tuna, do not pair well. Now, you might be able to find some kind of wine that would blend them well, but no.
Oh my God! I feel like this is a whole new podcast.
Yeah, we could go down there. There you go.
Sounds like something that would be
What
on the
wine
Blind
would you
Ninja
pair with
Studio.
your garlic onion aluminum tuna package? And peanut butter.
Well, I mean, I feel like this is an entire episode where we just get to drink a bunch of wine and then try to choke down some garlic onion tuna.
I keep giving you guys ideas. I keep coming over it. But, yeah, we went on this quest to find Chipotle Tabasco sauce and peanut butter. Beautiful together. Oh my God.
my goodness.
They pair so well. It's not even green olives and peanut butter, an acquired taste. But after a while, you're like, not bad.
It's
Obviously, anything sweet pairs really well with peanut butter. Peanut butter on a hamburger is very good.
Amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very good.
Turns out, yeah.
A grilled, any type of grilled beef, it actually turns out fairly good. Peanut butter's halfway decent on a steak. Peanut butter and A1 sauce, not good bedfellows. There's
Like that, you heard the steak.
the thing is they've heard me freaking tell this stuff. Like, you guys have heard all these stories before.
Many
Alright, so
times.
Josh,
About Isabel.
Isabel, yeah.
Isabel the spider.
Isabel was, I would feed her all the tuna that I didn't like, and she would kill all the camel spiders. She was an exceptionally good rat killer. No, that was a problem. Rats
Those
were a
are
problem.
big ass
Yeah,
spiders too.
they were about as big as your hand.
I motioned with my hand, but yeah, they can as
The only time-
a fan of spiders. Yeah.
The only time I ever
Which I
saw
am.
her get her ass kicked was she tangled with a desert wasp. And I don't know, desert wasp is about that big and it's just full of hate. Like, they'd start going around you, like, yeah, just please leave me alone, oh my God, you know. And she saw it on the ground, she went to claw it and pin it down, because what she would do is she'd use her claws and pin stuff down and then bite it, you know. And she would,
That's what I do with my food.
yeah, everybody does, right? You know? Just the other day, I had a raccoon, you know.
I hear you, man.
I got tired of squirrel. But she pinned it down and she went to go bite the wasp, and the wasp was just like, oh yeah, boom, and zapped her right on the end of the nose. That cat jumped about 12 feet up in the air. Well, I guess that learned you. You want some tuna now, don't you?
Like mother of God. Before we get too deep in the
Well, we can continue out
share
there because I
here.
got questions. Josh,
Sorry.
no. Josh, I know I've asked you before, but for anyone listening that's looking to go into the military, or maybe they're just getting out of it, or currently in even, what kind of advice would you give to them?
Advice or device?
Yes. Both.
Oh. Okay. The 2012 Johnny Hustler.
And then we're gonna ask your wife and your children, 2 of 3 of them who are here. Yeah, so you know.
Well, that thing saved my life a couple of times. That's the only reason. All right.
Because you had it in your pocket.
No, yeah. The advice the one advice I can say is just do it. You know, I mean, if you're gonna go in, nowadays it's hard to really talk about this because I don't know the way the Army is anymore. I know what the Army used to be like, and the way the Army used to be was a lot of fun.
When they made you walk both ways through 20 feet of snow.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Some of that stuff was, but that does,
I grew up in the 90s. I walked uphill and downhill to school, so it's
Without shoes.
but I didn't have to use a stress card for it, you know what I mean? It's, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I would answer that question anymore. A year ago, I would have answered it totally, completely different. And, you know, you can,
no shit, really. Like
Yeah.
we were all together in a studio a year ago, and that's what you're telling me. It's
Yeah,
that different.
I don't know. Yeah, man. I mean, you know, the whole. I don't want to get political or anything, you know, but the whole social justice thing, the whole freaking. I mean, everything has changed, you know, and like drill sergeants can't do certain things anymore, and I just heard now that they're not even really going to freaking do basic rifle BRM or BRQ, you know, where you have to qualify on rifle.
We don't know
and
what that
stuff.
means. I'm sorry.
So basic rifle qualification, basic rifle
mean, I do,
movements.
So that's where you get
the
the marksman.
the marksman stuff,
Yeah.
the marksmanship stuff, where they teach you how to shoot. Now they're apparently not even doing that stuff anymore. I can't give you from my perspective on what I would say to a young person going in is go 100% constantly. Yeah, constantly. Just do it, man. Do it. Go in and fucking do it. You know, take no prisoners. Do all the schools. Go to ranger school. Go to selection. And do the best you can at everything that you do. You know, and find somebody to share it with. You know, because I did, and it's a lot easier, and I've seen the alternative. You know.
If I may, sorry to interrupt you.
That's fine.
To change the question, guys that have retired or about to retire, you said here you are, you're still blowing off steam earlier. I mean, what would you say to, if you're having coffee with a guy like that, I mean, what would you say to them?
We'd probably talk about how much it's changed, to be honest with you. Me and Corey and Penny talk about it all the time. You know, towards the end of my career, I got really salty towards the Army. I got really salty towards the government. You know, because to me, they've lost the human factor. I mean, you know, it used to be leadership was about leading people, and becoming a leader of men was something that you wanted to aspire to, and to be an example, to be looked up to, you know. And nowadays they call it toxic masculinity or something along those lines. You know, it's you know, I never went into anything without saying, what can I do and how does this reflect? Yeah, shit, I would take a PT test and I would be like, you know, Jenny's watching me right now. You know, no, because that's important, you know. How do I look? And I might look this way in front of somebody, in front of my men, but what if my wife or my kids was watching me right now? You know, I always used to tell my soldiers, don't do stupid shit. You know,
I knew that was going to come out at some point.
It's one of our family mottos. We have two of them, and that's one of them.
What's the other one?
Do good, be good.
Do good, be good.
Okay. What does that mean? What does that mean to you, Hannah? Just because you're the oldest, and then we'll get to Sarah, of course.
I would say that would mean do your best, do what you think is good, and be what you think is good. You think that these are good qualities to have, then you be the person who has those qualities.
Okay. Sarah, I know Hannah doesn't necessarily speak for you, but is it?
No, she totally does. No. No, Hannah said it exactly. It stuck out to me mostly, though. Dad would say it to me every morning before I went to school. Every single morning, do good, be good. And it kind of was just a constant reminder. It was like, do good. So like, do good in school, or do good with your social life, or do good with your personal, like at home life. It was always something like that. And be good. It was make good choices. Be good. So don't do stupid shit. And it kind of just goes back around, you know.
You kind of rolled both of them in.
Yeah, yeah.
Great. I like that.
Exactly.
be kind to people.
Be kind.
Be kind.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what's going on in their heads. Yeah.
Oh, exactly.
The way I always thought is just we're always telling the kids when we say do good, be the best version of yourself that you can possibly be at all times.
The golden
And if
rule.
you can't,
Don't do stupid shit.
And if it's fucked up, then
That doesn't mean you let yourself be taken advantage of. You know.
However,
Defend yourself appropriately.
I do want to say, you know, because you said if you can't, these two people in my entire life, I've never met someone so supportive. They are constantly pushing me and pushing my sisters to be the best versions of ourselves that we could possibly ever be. And it's actually insane. Like, during cosmetology school, my mom was like, get another job. You have to work 2 jobs while you're in school. You have to. You got a new car? You have to do this. I'm trying to help you. And I was like, you know, I was like a spunky 19-year-old. I was like, I'm moving out with 1 job. See ya. No. And then I realized, I was like, oh, mom's kind of right. But she was helping me the entire time. She was helping me the entire time. And so was he. He
You
was
were
like,
light
dude.
years ahead of me. It took me 25 to realize.
Everybody's light years ahead.
Well, yeah.
Oh, no. But I get
Owners move at a delicate pace.
it's the spunkiness. I was like, I need to move out. I have to be on my own, whatever. And then it fell through, and I was like, oh, well. And, you know, they just still supported me throughout it. They were like, you know, because working as a new hairstylist, it's really hard because you don't get the hours, you don't get some of the respect. Yeah, you don't get the repeated clients, you don't get the respect from people. People just push you around. And, you know, they're kind of like my therapists because I can go home, or I can call them on my way home, and I can be like, this is what happened today, and it was awful, and it was actually shitty, and I actually want to go home and scream into my pillows and never leave my house again. And my mom
Crush a
would be
bottle
like,
of vodka.
oh yeah, and oh yeah, totally. And my mom will be like, okay, well, you could do that, or you can learn from it and move on from it. And now it's like, now I moved out of that place. I have my own place with 2 of my best friends. I got a new job. I have my own car. And it's literally all thanks to these 2 people. And I can say that, like, I text them all the time, like, you guys are my biggest supporters, and I thank you with all my heart. Like,
Leave
seriously.
it to the middle child to make the parents cry.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to get all emotional. I didn't mean to get all emotional. But it's true. It's true. You guys are seriously, like, it's insane. I've never, my friends' parents too, I'm always like, out of all my friends, my parents are the only ones who've stayed together. And I'm like, it's actually crazy Totally insane.
It's fine because when I tell people about the show, I say there's two things you need besides, how to listen to it. One, a box of tissues. Two, a bottle of whiskey.
Yeah.
2 bottles.
Where's the
Do not
tissues?
lose. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, we don't supply those. Yeah. Those are on your own.
Just provide the bottle of whiskey.
We got you halfway there.
I blame Gordon.
We have long sleeves. It's fine.
So we asked Josh for advice.
Jen, do you have advice for other spouses that are out there? Maybe they're already seasoned like you were with Josh on the second, third deployment, or maybe they're getting ready for their other half to go off to basic, or maybe their first deployment.
It's a hard question.
You know, and I'm going to answer this question today differently than I probably would have a week ago, because we were talking with my aunt, who we talked about earlier, who's a pastor, and she was giving some advice. And that piece of advice that I would actually give to anybody, but particularly to people who are looking at a deployment or who are looking at military service or spending time apart, I would tell them, always think, wake up in the morning and think of something positive about your spouse, because this is going to be really hard. And so even though you're apart, what is a quality of your partner that you fell in love with them for, or something new that you've discovered about them? Because that's going to get you through the shit that is a deployment. Because it's not easy. It's not easy to be apart from each other, to be living separate lives together, because that's really what it is. And you just have to every day do an affirmation of the positive stuff, of what's good, of why you're doing this, because it'll make all of the shit that much easier to take.
She's way smarter than me. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. She comes out with that. She's right. She's right. And like Tori said it, her aunt, it might be that you're just going, well, he wears a nice shirt. Or it
That's
might
the
be
best you
something,
can come up with that day. It's
or
something.
he can tell a good joke. It might be something very small, but really when you think about what she just said, you're like, holy crap, yeah, man, that's really what you need to do, And like I said, I'm lucky. I can speak for myself. I'm not going to presume to speak for anybody else. I've been crazy lucky my life, in my entire life. But the best thing I ever did was falling in love with her and getting her to convincing her to be like,
You
I'm
have to
all
work
right,
at it.
I'm kind of cool. I have funny squirrel jokes. Come on.
There was a storm about spiders.
Yeah. I've been exceptionally lucky, but Jenny's right. Fine. What do I say? Hunt the good stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so we have 3 family mottos.
Hunt the good stuff.
That's another one we say a lot.
I'm guessing there's an entire book of them. I know.
Is it a coffee table book? So
If you come out, but that's $1 million idea. I thank you for it.
If you do a family book,
That's my mouse
you need to tell me first, so I have another exclusive over Casey. That's
Man, this is...
You'll be
Brian, you're never gonna live this one down.
And Hannah, Sarah, for folks listening out there, maybe they have parents or friends, other siblings that are in the military, about to go in, or maybe they're about to get out. What words of wisdom or advice do you
Good
have for
question.
them?
Good question.
Be patient with the person, for sure. Give them time to, if they're in the Army or coming back from deployment, remember Army mode's a huge thing. And I would just be patient and help them when they need to be helped or when they ask for help, but don't push it. Because if you wake them up when they're sleeping, they might go Army mode on
You
you.
might get a boot to the face.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest one, be patient.
Mine is one that
Rub their feet a lot.
How many times
Can
do
you
we have
shut
to do
Josh's
that?
mic off, please?
I mean, I guess.
No, mine is a little game that I like to share. Don't worry, this isn't like Game of Thrones type game. This is something a lot more wholesome.
What did I do to deserve that?
No red wedding.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things I learned in my brief stint with college. My professor played this game with us every morning, and I hated it at the time because I was in a really bad spot. But I look back now, and I take this game that she played, and I really, really try to incorporate it, especially with people that I know who are struggling with various issues. But it's the good, bad, interesting game. Kind of a variation on good, bad, and ugly. So it's, you start off with, all right, what was something that was bad that happened? And you each go off and you list, oh, well, I had a flat tire, or I stubbed my toe really bad this morning, or I'm just having a bad hair day. It can be anything. And then you jump to, okay, well, what was something that was interesting about today? I saw a lady with purple hair walking down the street. That was kind of weird.
Squirrel with a cigarette.
There was a squirrel in the road with a cigarette.
Don't do
know how
math, girls.
Oh, the squirrel, like, cigarettes are a gateway drug? Is that a thing now? I don't
Yes.
Oh, shit.
So and then you would ask people what.
Yeah,
something-
okay, and then you'd
I'm
end.
sorry.
Yeah, then you'd end the game with, all right, what's something good? What was something good about today? And you focus on that last bit. What was good about today? Yeah, there's bad stuff that's gonna happen. There's the occasional weird, interesting thing that happens during the day. But what was good about that day? It could be simple as, like, it could be as simple as like,
I got to
oh,
talk to my dad today.
I got to talk to my dad today. Or a stranger complimented the shirt that I was wearing today.
It does look very nice.
But, like, the point of that is focus on the good. Like Dad said, hunt the good stuff.
the good stuff.
Because life is way too short to focus on all the bad and the weird stuff that happens. And that's my piece of advice.
Casey,
Good advice, man.
Brian, any closing thoughts, questions?
I guess I have one question for you guys. Earlier in the episode, you said that people coming up to you and saying, I'm sorry, was kind of a thing that was a little bit of a why. Is there something you would rather people say, or is there something that...
Maybe, see, it's so hard because it's like, I was so young too, but it was,
Right.
I had my teacher say it to me when I was in 4th grade. I was like, oh yeah, my dad's in the, I was like the first day, I was like, oh, my dad's in the army or something. Or then when he was deployed, I had told her, I was like, oh yeah, he's getting deployed, and she had said, oh, I'm sorry. And I think it was kind of like, I'm sorry as in like, it kind of comes off negative. You know, like, oh, something's bad obviously is going to happen to him. So I think if someone were to, like, say something more positive about something, like, well, I'm here for you. Or I you know,
If you need to talk,
if
I'm
you
here.
need to talk about something, I'm here. Instead of, oh, I'm sorry. So you're thinking like,
Something
the
bad's
negative
going to
things.
happen to him.
Yeah. I think that's a
Yeah,
big thing
like,
of it.
say something positive, like,
Okay.
hey, I'm here to help if you need anything. Or,
I hope
like,
your dad kills that son of a bitch, motherfucker. You know,
God damn it, Josh. We were having I was gonna say,
my
like,
sentiment.
I was getting a little bit weepy, and then I was forming my next question, which...
Josh, you're
No, it's
supposed to
fine.
be here on every show. You can bring it back for me.
I was gonna say, like, I don't know, I like his face and his voice, but I would kick that ball to Josh. Like, honestly, dude, like, for all of us that are you know, in awe of this whole situation and you know, really would...
Well, like you said, you know,
Yeah.
have people come up to you and say thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Is there something we can say?
you know, the best thing you can say is cheers.
Fair
Cheers.
enough.
Cheers.
We all got drinks. If you guys are listening,
I understand
we're
what that
making a
means.
cheers.
I'm German, I'm Irish, I'm Scottish. I'm about as Viking as you can get. You know, so
I am too, my brother. I think we talked about
yeah, we did
this
talk
a
about
little
it.
bit, yeah.
Skull. So just
I'm about as Norwegian, German, and Irish as they get. And
Skull.
So, and that's that.
that's all you got to say to me, man. And I know exactly what that means. You know, it's to term of respect. So
Skull.
cheers, respect. You know,
Cheers.
Cheers.
sláinte.
All around.
Here, Josh, I'll stay with.
And Jenny, you have a beautiful family.
Thank you.
Sarah and Hannah. Sorry that Rebecca couldn't be here, but yeah.
It's alright. She's kind of lame.
She's super
Next time.
tired, so she.
I'm sorry, I was giving it to Gordon. I thought he would know what to do with it.
He didn't.
No,
Clearly not. Anyway, all right, let's
Wrap this up.
Yeah.
I guess we can do that.
Well, thank you again, Josh, Jen, Hannah, Sarah, and Rebecca. I know you're probably listening because I'll send you a link for coming down on the show and carving time out of your day and talking to some schmuck with a podcast.
I love doing this, man. I think it's fun.
And thank you to everyone that's out there listening to the show. Without you, this would not be possible. Many of you have asked me, how can you help out? There's a couple things you can do. First off, head over to Apple Podcasts, leave a review. Hopefully you think it's a 5-star. It's worth 5 stars, and leave a comment. Secondly, tell your friends, family, coworkers about the show. And lastly, if you'd like to help out and bring new episodes, head over to patreon.com/Rules of the Arena Podcast. Keep an eye out. I have new merch that is releasing now, and we're going to be doing some updates with that. If you'd like to keep in touch with new episodes and guests by following the show on Facebook and Instagram, both at No Story Left Behind. Don't forget to check the show out on Twitch, where you can tune into the show, join the conversation live. Just head over to twitch.tv/Rules of the Arena. And if you missed the live stream, don't worry. You can still check out all the video broadcasts on YouTube. Just search for Rules of the Arena Podcast, and all NSLB recordings are under the playlist No Story Left Behind. If you'd like to get a hold of me directly for any comments, concerns, or show ideas, please shoot me an email over at gordon@blindninjastudios.com. Longtime listeners, I promise you this is the last time I'm going to change my email. I swear.
don't email me.
And to go off script here a little bit, so I've had a few listeners email me and kind of tell me your story, and we've talked through some things with a few people. I'm more than happy to listen. Please, though, just in the subject line, put whiskey, and then I know to go pour myself a glass, because a lot of you have kind of jerked a few tears out of me. And, of course, military vets, if you're out there and you're listening, you're in a bad spot. Please reach out to your battle buddy, friends, family, someone you can talk to.
Yes.
You can also call the Veterans Crisis Line through the VA anonymously at 1-800-8255 or text 838-255, and there is a caring responder there willing to talk to you. Otherwise, Josh, I know you mentioned before, last time you were on the show, you'd be willing to talk to people, so that still offers up.
That offer is always on the table. If you need to talk to somebody and you don't want to tell stories to somebody that you don't know or who hasn't been there and does not understand, call me, 651-307-3407. I will always talk to you.
Yeah, otherwise, shoot me an email. I'll get you in touch with Josh as quickly as I can.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone. And last note of business, don't forget to check out my other show, Rules of the Arena Podcast, and you can find that show on its own feed wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. You can also find the show on Facebook and Instagram at Rules of the Arena Podcast. Thank you again, everyone. We will catch you next time.
Cheers.